Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about how to program conjugate benching for raw lifters. And most people know that I am obviously not the best bencher in the world. I have an elite squat and elite deadlift, and I've got an okay bench. It's always been my weak link, but you guys have also seen me put up clients who have double body weight or higher benches, right? And that's raw, that's paused, a normal bench press. So again, I program these people very similar to how I do myself. We all have our own gifts and weaknesses and everything. But one of the things you guys will notice, there's three basic components to your benching on Conjugate. And I'm not going to talk about building support muscles in this video because I think most of us realize at this point doing a lot of upper back work and middle back work is beneficial to all three of your big lifts, in addition to just making you look bigger and thicker. But that's not what this is about. We're going to talk about programming just the pressing end of it. And what you guys will see through this clip, this is stuff done over, about a course of 5 weeks, just some different clips of my own lifting on it. This is, of course, at the weakest I've been in a little while because I got really sick, had to bounce back from that, but was cutting while this was being made. So I'll probably be quite a bit stronger again by the time this video comes up. But you guys will notice I'm doing a variety of different presses. Like right there, you do see a classic bench press, right? Pinkies on the rings. But some of the stuff that we do every week, we want to max on a different variation. And the general idea, unless something has caused you to lose strength, once you have momentum going, the general idea is to not repeat a variation again until you think you can PR on it. Okay? And we'll use a lot of these lifts as testers. So that's one of the things to keep in mind on max effort day. A lot of these we're just learning to strain. We're hitting different bench variations to avoid accommodation, to avoid overuse. And that's a big one too, by changing our grips, changing where the tension is, maybe off pins or boards or bands, chains, things like that. We can put less stress on pec tendons and things. We can change it so that we avoid overuse. And this is one of the ways that we get away with maxing every single week while keeping injuries low. Okay, it also teaches you to find your weak points in lifts. You can also use the variations you're doing to test your weak points. So if you're weak very close to off the chest, doing something like pin presses is a good way to force yourself to learn to explode through that point. Okay, if you're weak right at the chest, doing things like the buffalo bar you saw me do helps. If you're weak at the lockout, or you grind and slow down through the lockout, doing maxes against bands can teach you the skills to drive through these different points. But it also, again, lets us avoid overuse, and we can also use it as testers. Things like floor press, or things maybe like your incline bench done for a max, can tell you a great deal about where you are. Okay? If you've previously missed lockouts, you can use the closed grip bench as a tester to see where you are. In other words, when you PR on these lifts, you know that you're ready to PR on your bench. So let's say normally your max bench is 315, okay, and your floor press the last time before you had tested that max was 305. Okay, so it's usually 10 pounds less than your bench. And let's say you go through and you do a max effort day, you test the floor press, what happens? Well, if you test the floor press and it's up 5 pounds, let's say you hit 310, okay, you're ready for a 320 bench. You can come in and test that bench anytime you want. You know that you're good for it now. So this is how we handle the max effort day. Dynamic effort, I am a big fan of bands and chains, even for raw lifters, and I like to run them heavy, 25 up to about 30% of your 1 rep max in bands and chains. Okay, and I do this for raw lifters, including people who have elite benches, right? That's how we do it. Although a lot of them who are completely raw, I do their speed work raw if they don't have bands or chains, or I run them very light if they have setups that are not conducive to it, such as having to be in a commercial gym without band pegs. So they might have to use lighter bands or whatever. So we'll do it that way. But generally, I do like bands and chains if they're available. But on dynamic effort work, our goal is to, I either like to run people with very light weights at 5x5 or a bit heavier with 9 to 10 triples. All right, a lot of times we rotate the grips. A lot of my lifters, we change grip widths throughout the individual session to where we'll test 3 different grips or train 3 different grips on speed work. On the speed work, it's all about compensatory acceleration. You want to explode as hard as you possibly can. Okay, and this is done on a separate day. So you have a max effort day to where you ramp up to a max or a training max, and then you have the dynamic effort day as your second bench press day every week. Okay, and again, it's important to separate these out. They need to be at least 72 hours apart, and it works very well with an upper-lower split, which is generally how conjugate is done. All right. And keep in mind, dynamic effort work is done with short breaks, at most a minute between sets. And if you're in good shape, a lot of times you get away with 30 seconds. And you're usually quite exhausted on this stuff right by near the end of it. I usually find my pecs and stuff are cramping, me personally on it. A lot of my lifters report the same thing. Even if you do closer grip against bands or chains, you still feel your chest on speed work. That's just an interesting note. It's things that people would think would be more tricep dominant. I always get intense chest pumps. All right, so after you do that, what do? Well, you're usually going to have some form of supplemental pressing, although, again, if your work capacity isn't that high, you might not always have a supplemental chest press on dynamic effort day. But you guys will notice through this video, me doing some floor presses, me doing some incline benching. All right, so what do we do that for? That's done for the repetition effort, and this is to build muscle. And I'm not saying you're not going to build some muscle from the max work and the speed work. I personally believe and have noticed a lot of lifters get a lot of hypertrophy out of the speed work. Right? They get a lot. Again, depending upon the lifter, just something I've noticed. Okay. So your supplemental work is usually going to be there to build your weaker links. Okay, because you're building all of it, and any chest press is going to build pecs, it's going to build anterior deltoid, it's going to build triceps. That's not in question. So what you often do is pick variations that help you where you're weakest. So let's say you're weakest right off the chest, and it's not your lats or upper back that are limiting you, because again, lats can really help you out of the bottom. So I would say obviously you probably need more lat work anyway you break it down, but incline benching. Incline will help you right off the chest. It's very good for that. We can make a good case for overhead pressing there as well, but paused incline work. If you stick in the middle, okay, or maybe 6 inches off the chest, what should you do? Floor pressing. Floor pressing, and in some cases even pin pressing, or board presses, shallow board presses, can be really useful for that. Again, for your rep work. Also, in that same situation, a lot of times dumbbells works great. Actual dumbbells. And again, you'll get people say, well, shouldn't that help you out of the bottom the most? Not always. Because again, oftentimes it's potentially anterior delts limiting you immediately off the chest. So the incline may be a bit better, but if you're sticking, up to about midway, but you can get it off your chest, floor presses, and like I said, even dumbbell presses and stuff can help there tremendously. If you struggle with lockouts, you should probably be doing a lot of close grip benching. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.